It is July 7th, 2022, and we have with us the lovely Sarah Almond from First National. How's that?
You know what? I'll take that. Thank you, Pete. The first thing I want to mention before I forget, let's talk about qualifying. And obviously with the Bank of Canada meeting soon, I'm sure people are sort of aware that the contract plus 2 on an adjustable rate mortgage is going to surpass the 525. If you've got a pre-approval in with First National and prime rate goes up on Friday, what day? Whatever day it is. We will honor the lower qualification, but that deal has to fund within that 120 days. Okay. So we're okay. It does not need to be requalified, but I cannot stress enough that that file must fund. Okay. Yeah. A lot of questions on that right now, but any change to that file or that pre-approval, I shouldn't say any change, but let's say the client decides, oh, I don't want the adjustable rate anymore, I want the fixed. And again, we've talked about that concept before, but it completely will void that, right? And requalification will take effect, or if there's some change to there. So that's the main one I want to talk about today. There's been some other policy changes, and I know a ton of you have already sort of reached out to me and we've talked about them a little bit. So we'll talk about those. Don't worry about scribbling down what I'm saying. I do have a lovely email that has it all packaged up for you. But if there's any questions as we go along, feel free to bring it up and we'll chat about it. But the majority of these were on an email that went out last week. I want to say a couple weeks, maybe last week. But like I said, there's a few others that I'll sprinkle in between here to keep it new and fresh. So just in case you did read that email, there's some other stuff. So still listen to me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. CCB, and actually, does anybody want to guess what age we will allow? Do you want to take yourself on mute and everybody answer? It'll be like trivia. What age do the children have to be?
15, because you already told me.
I know, I already told you, Jeannie.
I cheated.
Yeah, so 15, that was an increase from 12. And just to sort of talk that out, let's say the child is 15 and 3 months, or like 15 and 8 months. That's okay. We can still use it, okay? Because they're under 16, which makes them 15, okay? So the other change around CCB has to be with how much income we can use on the file in its totality. It used to be 30% was a number that we kind of used as a guideline. That's been upped to 50%. Yeah, and I've got an example of a file that I had that I was pretty surprised that that we got the green light to consider. I don't actually know if it's gone into the insurers yet, because I did clear it by the insurers, because again, I was really surprised that we were going to be okay with this one. So I'll just give you this example. It was 80,000 total income for the client. Okay. And that 80,000 was broken down by 24,000 was employment income. Another 20 something or maybe 30-ish thousand was child support, and the remaining 30-ish was CCB. Okay, and I actually—
Hey Dolly, it's Brian Wagner calling. Hey, are you sick of me?
I muted him.
It's my favorite part of Zooms. So 80,000 broken up in those 3 chunks. Employment income was the 24,000, and then the other 2 were somewhat similar: child tax and child support. So I actually thought that was going to be a no-go, even with our policy change, quite honestly. But I was happy to hear that the insurers will absolutely consider that, because they're looking at child support and child tax credit as 2 separate bundles. Okay, so it wasn't hitting the threshold of the 50%. I don't know if that file's come into fruition and we've actually funded it, but I know that it absolutely was, because the insurer said, yep, that fits. And we were going to put our support behind it as well. So that's child tax. I've got this all in an email for you again, so don't worry about scribbling it down. The other one was outstanding CRA, outstanding taxes. The threshold for what's okay to have, okay, does everybody see my air quotes? What's okay to have outstanding has been increased, and that's going to be the lesser of 5% of line 150 or $5,000. Okay, so hopefully that was a little less paperwork for clients. I think that was up from $2,000. So we've increased that amount a smidgen. Closing costs. If anybody has any questions as we go along, feel free, by the way, to take yourself on mute and try to interrupt me if you can. Closing costs, we had a change on, and it's funny. When I've told brokers this change, they're like, oh, I always thought that that's what you guys did. So for closing costs, we now need to have a 90-day history. We used to only need a snapshot to see that closing costs were available. So now we've expanded that to 90 days. So just like your regular down payment. Now, you absolutely can add it to your debt servicing if obviously the client has room, because we all know there's tons of room in debt servicing these days. But if the client has room in their debt servicing, you can absolutely take the closing cost amount and divide it by 12 months. So it has to be amortized over 12 months. It can't go on a credit card and be on the never, never plan of the 3% of balance. So we actually look to add it as a liability over a year. Okay. Yeah. There was a change to parental leave with First National. So I know I've told this team before, I do know I've told this team before, First Nat can consider up to 18 months for somebody that's on a mat leave. So literally if they're in day 2 of their mat leave and they've decided to take that extended leave up to 18 months, and they can get the return to work letter saying they're coming back this date, 18 months in the future, to a salary of 50 grand, we've been okay to use that income. Okay, we're still okay to use that income, but we're going to start asking for another piece of documentation. And what that is we're going to want to see a year-end pay stub or a T4 from the previous year that somewhat supports what you're using for qualifying. Okay, now I know I was a little bit vague right there. I've been told that if the T4 says 48,000, but we're trying to use 50,000 and we can verbally confirm 50,000 with the employer, that's going to be okay. But it has to be somewhat consistent. Okay, I don't have an actual dollar value to tell you for what that actually looks like. So just pick up the phone and call me or call your underwriter, and we can always feel that out a little bit. But we used to never ask for that previous year-end stub or that T4, and it can be either, but now we are. And I mean, from a due diligence standpoint, it kind of makes sense when you think about it. But
What
that
about
is
rapid fire babies?
pardon
So like,
me.
what if someone has a child, then they go back to work? For instance, I know a lot of, well, maybe just the ones that see us, but nursing clients, they're RNs or whatever. They make a really good wage, but when they're young, they just kind of like they're pumping kids out, and they may not get a full year in between. So is that okay, or are we basically saying that because they're not earning the full year, we're actually going to drop back a bit?
It sort of depends. Like those ones have been tricky always, especially if they're just casual, because they're not going to get that return to work letter. So nothing's really changed with that one, in the sense that they were tricky before if they went back to back to back, because we really are. I mean, if they happen to be a part of the year before they had the kid, we might be able to use some income based on sort of a lower average, but those ones are going to be sort of case by case. Yeah, those ones have always been tricky though, for sure. Any questions so far as I scan my little list to see what I'm missing? No questions? No? Okay, I'm just gonna bulldoze through then. Rental purchases with First National. If you've used First National in the last 10 years for a rental purchase, you would know that we typically ask for a lease agreement on the subject rental purchase. It was always a sticky, ugly conversation that I had to have, because really the client doesn't own that rental yet, but we did ask for a lease agreement on that subject rental purchase. I am happy to say that now we will allow either eco rents from the appraisal or a lease agreement. I am not taking comments on First National's request of that lease agreement, because I think you've probably heard my distaste for that policy as well. And there was really nothing we could ever do about it until now. So again, an eco rent letter in the full appraisal is a-okay. Oh, you really aren't questioning me on that. Amazing. Does anybody remember if I've talked about modulars and manufacturers and mobiles with the team? Did I cover that on our last meeting, Pete? Do you remember?
We have, yeah, but
Okay.
it's always worth going over again because the wording is very tricky.
Yeah, and I've got it in the email that I send out. We'll cover it now, but I do have it sort of laid out for you in the email that I'm going to send to the team after, or that I'm going to send to Pete, send to the team after. So the term manufactured can technically mean mobile or modular. And we're seeing more and more of these now. Obviously, it has to do with sort of qualifying ability and stuff, and that's why it's sort of coming to the surface again. So when my Yaletown living Vancouver underwriters see the word manufactured homes, not gonna lie, they get a little bit prickly, because manufactured typically has been known to refer to as mobile, could mean the same thing. First National is not okay with mobiles, but what we are okay with is modular. And the term manufactured can also mean modular. So if we can prove that that property rather, is truly a modular on its own land, permanently affixed on its own land, we can look at doing that file insured, insurable, or uninsurable. So the part that we need to confirm that, and you're going to need it either in the appraisal, or the realtor is going to have to provide us, a picture of it. We're going to need proof of it somehow, but it has to do with the CSA, so the Canada Standards Association, CSA, Canada Standards Association, so like the building standards, and it has to say CSA A277. That's what we like, and that's what tells us that that modular has truly been built with the same building standards of a stick-built home. Okay, if that code reads Z240, CSA Z240, then it's truly a mobile, and it has not been built to the same standards as the modular. So that's the differentiating factor. I've got all that in the email, but I've had it where, unfortunately, the underwriters have been a little bit trigger happy once they see the term manufactured, and then broker calls me and says, hey, I thought we could do this one, and then I get involved, and yes, we can. And that actually happened, that was a deal in Salmon Arm where it absolutely was a modular. And I'm positive I probably told you this story, because the BC assessment for that one actually had the term double wide on it, which was really, really strange. But we actually think that the reason it said double wide was because it was brought over in two pieces, because it was one of those ones that, yeah, two chunks then glued together or whatever they do. Okay, so that's my little blip on modulars, mobiles, and manufacturers. So I want to talk a little bit about something that is an irritant for brokers. when you're looking at down payment documentation. So when you're looking at down payment documentation and you see something on there, like some random deposits, bulk deposits, our underwriters will come back and ask you about the source, or to confirm it, or just to verbally tell us, what are these three, $1,500 deposits? Okay, so it's concept of bulk deposits when you're looking at bank statements. Okay, a lot of times a broker will ask me, okay, Sarah, what's the magic number where it's okay, where I won't be asked for that? And sometimes an underwriter will tell you $2,000, $2,500. But the correct answer is there's actually not a real number on there, because the definition truly does come down to if it's unusual for the financial profile of the client. So if you have someone there making 30 grand a year and they have 5 bulk deposits of $1,000, yeah, it's not much, but does that really line up to their overall financial picture? It might be that the underwriter is just going to ask you about it. So you need to have queried the client on it. And depending on what that looks like, you may or may not have to get actual written confirmation of it. Okay. So the policy that has changed is that we have somewhat put a number on the amount of bulk deposits. Okay. Now, does anybody, not Jane, want to take themselves off mute and guess what that number is? Kristen's on my screen. Come on, Kristen, give a guess. Oh, I love calling people out. It's the best. Who else is there? Let me scan.
I'll guess 5.
Yay. I mean, yay for a guess. You're wrong, but thanks for thanks for guessing. So the number is 10,000. Now, you'll notice that I'm saying this sort of hesitantly. And the reason I'm saying that is because I really don't want any of your due diligence practices to change, okay? Because really, yes, we've put a number on it, but do I think that this is going to alleviate some paperwork and questions? I do, but again, it's still going to come down to the financial picture, okay? And I had a file come in right after I told them about this. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. This is a very real life example. I remember it like it was yesterday. I think it might have been only yesterday. Application comes in, the assets were zero on the application, okay? And there was a $9,000 deposit. So yes, it's under the 10,000, but the application told us that this client didn't even have 2 pennies to rub together. Okay, so did the underwriter question it? Yeah, because it didn't align with what was presented. So that's why I'm saying, like, I'm telling you, but I'm sort of saying it with a little bit of a grain of salt, because I really don't want sort of your regular practices to be booted out the door so quick. Does that make sense, sort of?
I have a question. Do you mean like multiple deposits equaling 10,000? Because when you say bulk deposits, it's just, is that
no,
kind of
I'll
how it
expand.
works?
Yeah, no, thank you for reminding me of that. There is sort of a, if the bulk deposits are over 5 days, totaling $10,000, then that's over the threshold. So maybe it was 3, 3, and 4, but it was over 5 days, then that's a problem. Then that's a real problem if you don't know what it is. Okay, so that is the guideline. Okay, but quite honestly, guys, if you see, an $8,000 deposit, I mean, if I was a broker today, I'd probably ask the questions still. I do think that's sort of a best practice type thing, but it should alleviate some of those sort of piddly ones that have always been a little bit annoying. Yeah. I'm only going to spend, have we talked about, Peter, you can just nod your head, because I might be getting my meetings mixed up. Leasehold properties, Have we talked about leasehold properties before and First National's appetite? Nobody get excited because the appetite is still very, very minuscule, okay? But leasehold properties, when I'm saying leasehold properties, I do not mean native leasehold properties except for one, okay? But the leasehold properties that First National is A-okay with are the university leases that are down on the coast. Okay, so we can go there uninsured, even insured and insurable, just no rentals. But these are like the SFU, and I think there's some UBC leasehold property. I'm not super familiar with them, but apparently it's like a university lease and we're okay with those ones. Okay. I think the only one in my territory like that is Kamloops, because there is a TRU leasehold property that we are okay with. The only thing with that building is a lot of the units are sort of micro suites, and we're not okay with that because the minimum square footage for Kamloops is 600 for units. So the one native lease land that we are okay with is Tawasin Mills in Vancouver. And again, we're sort of dipping our toe in this concept. If you're a long time First National user like Deb, you might remember that we actually could years and years, well before my 7 years at First Nat, we actually did do a couple native leaseholds. Sun Rivers and Kamloops was one that we actually did, but we absolutely don't right now. But the door has been opened that smidgen. And like I said, they're just sort of dipping their toe into that Tawasin Mills ones. So the university ones, A-okay. Tawasin Mills is a yes as well. And depending on how that goes, maybe some more will be opened up. To be quite honest, I don't really think that there's going to be a lot in the Okanagan that we open up, like not Desert Cove or actually is Desert Cove native or is it private? Definitely not Desert Cove. I shouldn't have said Desert Cove. Okay, but definitely not that one, for example. If any, probably Sun Rivers, I would think, just because we've gone in there before. How much time do I have left? Wow, I've talked a lot. Wow, thank you. Oh, I love you.
It's been great though.
For so patiently sort of sitting there. Although I'm going to scan the pictures to make sure everybody's not working. Okay.
Hey, I gotta say that First National's done a really good job in doing those little email sheets, the ones like the income one.
Yeah.
There's a 2-part income one. It's really good. I like it because it's like very brief and to the point.
Yeah. It's funny. I had a broker email me on those and say, hey, this is nice, but can you just put it all on one page for me? And I was like, well, no, I did that. And actually, that was a huge team collaboration putting that together for everybody, because actually it was a little more finicky than what you would know. Okay, so I'm on my last couple things though. So international income, we're seeing this more and more given sort of, I guess, our post-COVID world. So I used to be kind of a big fat no for international income. We would, on exception, we would allow maybe a UK pension if it was claimed in Canada. But I'm happy to say that we're opening the door a little bit because we're seeing it more often, this international income. So depending on the type of income it is what's going to depend on what we ask for documentation. Okay, so they have to be claiming that income in Canada first and foremost. And the one that I'm privy to, or that I've been sort of involved in, it truly was, I think they were working for Google or Facebook or something, but it truly was salaried income, and it was claimed. So he hadn't claimed the full salary amount because he only had part of a year for last year, but because we could do a verbal and get a job letter and it wasn't, too complicated, it was relatively straightforward, that was a-okay. But it's really going to be a little bit case by case and sort of what can you get, and we'll have to kind of work together while we muddle through that. Rates came down a touch for our insured rates. I'm sure you saw that the other day. So the generous discount on insured is back to prime minus 90 for the adjustable rate mortgage. And our last thing was the cash back offer that we've put into play, which when it was originally launched only was conventional business. Okay. Now they open it up for insured as well. So that cashback special, to be honest, I don't even have it memorized yet. Right, it depends on the size of mortgage, either $750 back to the client at closing or $1,000 if it's a mortgage over 500, but I'm going from memory. I'm quickly trying to look it up on my phone as we're talking so I can give you the right information. But I've already filed it away. Yeah. Now, do we have any questions while I try to find this so I make sure I'm giving you the right info? Any questions? I know I've said this before, but it's so funny when I scroll and I look at the bottom of the screen, everybody's pictures, and Dave Iverson, his picture is him just sort of sitting there smiling at his outside on his deck or something. And I remember I honestly thought that that was actually him sitting there live and he was just being really still. Not that it was a picture. That always makes me laugh when I see that picture there. Oh, fun stuff. Okay,
Dave says that
cash.
the beer is the same.
Pardon me?
Dave says the beer is the same. Oh, the same level. Never mind. I thought he was just saying he's drinking beer all the time.
So yeah, $1,000. I was right. My memory served me correctly there. If the mortgage is over 500, then $1,000 cash to client at closing. And if it's up to 500, then it's going to be $750 back to the client at closing, which is meant to cover closing and legal fees and that sort of thing.
Sorry, did you say if it was clawbackable?
I did not say, and we haven't really been in a spot where we felt the need to, and really for First Nat, that even like opens a bigger door sort of as far as clawbacks with like somebody putting an adjustable rate on the books and then that being gone. Until we see a history of it, until there's a problem, it's really not something that's going to be on our radar at all. Yeah.
Because it's a little bit loose with the rule, but if you see someone kind of taking advantage of it, then.
Yeah. Which luckily for BC, I know that that's not like, it hasn't been on the radar. I can't speak to the other provinces, but I think, I don't know, I always feel like BC is sort of a testament to good brokers. I don't know if it's because maybe there's less in BC versus one of those major centers, but I always feel like the quality of what we do is just a little bit different here. I forgot you were recording. I shouldn't have said that.
No, it's okay. That's fair. We're good.
It is what
and good looking and all that. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the time. I'm only 2 minutes over. Before I jump off, does anybody have any questions? Nobody? No. Sue? No. Mindy? No. Lindsay? No. Brent didn't join us. Good. Hi, Brent. Hi.
You've just been quietly messaging in the background.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Well, I appreciate the time as always. You know where to find me. And yeah, have a good rest of the call. Okay.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Really appreciate all those tips. And I know that you're always available for emails and calls. So yeah, if anyone needs to get a hold of Sarah, there's Brent. Yeah, her details are on every email. If you're not getting her emails, let me know. I'll make sure you get them. Otherwise, keep an eye out for those.
Yeah. Oh, and I will send you, like I said, I will send you a little summary of all the stuff that I spoke about.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.